Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anisha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today I'm updating my reading journal with the books I read back in February. I know this video is way overdue, but I honestly just didn't get a chance to sit down and do it until now. So, anyway, let's get into it. So, the first book I read in February was The Call of the Wild by Jack London. So for this book, I decided to go with a one-page review in my journal. So I'm keeping the layout very minimal, just some washi tape, the book cover and maybe a couple of stickers. So that's what I'm working on here. Now, as for my thoughts on the book, this is a classic novel centered around a dog named Buck, who starts off as a beloved pet in a loving family. The story begins when Buck is stolen from his home and sold as a sled dog in Alaska. From there, the novel follows his journey as he slowly becomes more wild, adapting to the harsh environment for his survival. I really enjoyed this book. It is quite short, but it didn't feel like anything was missing. Some parts were a little hard to read because of the animal cruelty, but that was something I expected considering the setting and tone of the story. The book explores some really powerful themes like the tension between civilization and the wild, survival of the fittest, loyalty versus slavery, man versus nature. I can definitely see why it's a well loved classic. So, overall, it was a great read for me and I gave it a 4 stars. My next read for the month was The Maid by Nita Prose. Here again, I'm going for a single page review, keeping things simple, with a few washi tapes and some stickers for the decor. Now about the book. It's a mystery thriller with the main character Molly, who works as a hotel maid. She has trouble with social skills, struggles to read social cues, and often misinterprets the behavior of people around her. So one day, she discovers the dead body of one of the wealthiest guests at the hotel, and because of how she processes the situation and handles it, she ends up unintentionally incriminating herself and caught up in the case. So the story then follows her as she tries to fix everything by solving the mystery and clearing her name. So this was an okay read for me. Molly seems to be written as a neurodivergent character, but it's never clearly mentioned. Her portrayal actually felt a bit exaggerated at times, and the characterization wasn't always consistent. Like sometimes she completely misreads really simple things, but then suddenly she's able to interpret more complex situations with very ease. That said, I did enjoy the overall plot and how the mystery unfolded. The story kept me interested, but the way Molly got out of trouble felt a bit too convenient. Some characters just appeared at the right time to help her, and everything tied up too neatly. And the final twist in the climax also was not as strong as I was expecting. And a few of Molly's decisions at the end didn't fully make sense to me. Overall, it was an entertaining one time read, but not something I would rave about. So I gave it a 3 stars. My next read was Babel by R.F. Kwang. Let me start by saying I absolutely love this one. It's by far my favorite read of the year. So here I'm dedicating 2 spreads for this book. I have already printed out this image of the Babel Tower from the book cover to use as a centerpiece for my spread. I also found some fan art of the main characters from Pinterest. So I'll be including a few of those as well, and I'm pairing them with some washi tapes and scrapbook papers. That's the plan in terms of decor. Now about the book itself. Babel is a historical fantasy novel set in the alternate 19th century Oxford, where translation, language, and silverworking magic shapes the world. The story follows Robin Swift, a Chinese orphan brought to England to study at the prestigious Royal Institute of Translation, also known as Babel. There, he becomes close friends with 3 other students: Rami, a Muslim scholar from India; Victory, a Haitian-born revolutionary; and Letty, an English woman who's trying to prove herself. So, as they dive deeper into the workings of silver magic, Robin begins to question Babel's true purpose and its role in supporting the British imperialism. He is forced to confront ideas about loyalty, identity, colonialism, and resistance. So I absolutely love this book. The concept of Babel, the emphasis on language and translation, and the way language fuels the magic system, it was all just so brilliant to me. As someone who genuinely loves languages, speaks multiple ones every day, and often gets frustrated by the loss of meaning in translation, this book felt so personal to me. The whole idea that no translation can ever fully capture the essence of the original, that actually really hit me. Like, it's something I always believed, and seeing it explode in such a depth was really amazing. I also really connected with Robin's conflict. Like, he loves Babel, the languages, the learning, everything he gets to be part of. But at the same time, he can't ignore what Babel represents. How the British Empire uses language and translation as tools for control and exploitation. So his internal struggles, torn between love for knowledge and the weight of injustice, was written so well. Honestly, I felt the same while reading. I was fascinated by Babel as an idea, but horrified by what it meant in practice. So, this is definitely one of my all time favorite reads, and of course, I gave it a 5 star. My next read was Atomic Habits by James Clear. For this one, I'm going back to my single page book review layout. keeping things simple with just a few washi tapes and stickers. Now, about the book, it's a practical and insightful guide on how small and consistent changes can lead to remarkable results. This was actually a reread for me. Lately, I've been feeling a bit low and picked up another self help book, and it didn't really click for me. So, I decided to return to Atomic Habits as a way to refocus and get back on track. And honestly, I feel like I picked it up at just the right time. While it didn't drastically transform my life or anything, but the book's thoughts on habit formation really resonated with me. It gave me a gentle push towards building small positive habits that I hope will slowly add up and contribute to my overall well being. So, overall, it was a solid and helpful read, and it gave me exactly what I was looking for. So, I ended up giving this one a 4.5 star. Next up was Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater. This one is a young adult paranormal romance. The story follows Grace, a girl who's always felt a strange connection to the wolves that roam around the woods behind her house. What she doesn't know is that these wolves aren't just animals, they're actually humans who shift with changing seasons. Now, I don't want to offend anyone, but I'll be honest, this book was a mistake. I really don't want to sound rude, but I genuinely don't know how else to put it. This one was one of the worst book I have ever read. I wanted to DNF it so badly. The only reason I pushed through was because I was stuck somewhere with nothing else to read, and I just needed something to pass the time. Otherwise, I definitely wouldn't have made it to the end. This book was unintentionally hilarious. I found myself laughing out loud at parts that were clearly not meant to be funny. A lot of it just felt ridiculous. I know I'm not the target audience. This is YA after all, but that was not the problem. I still enjoy plenty of YA books even now, but this just wasn't it. I didn't enjoy it at all, aside from maybe laughing at how absurd it was, which again was not the book's intention. I actually have a separate journal where I keep a list of books I want to read someday, kind of like a personal wish list. Whenever I see a recommendation or a review that catches my attention, I add the book to that list. Then, when I'm buying books, I go through the journal and pick some books out. So, by the time I actually get around to reading the book, I often don't remember why I was interested in them in the first place. I'm saying all this because while reading this book, I kept wondering why I had ever added this to my list. Anyway, I gave this one a 1 star because, well, 0 was not an option. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be harsh, but this just really wasn't for me. Next up is Salvation of a Saint by Keiko Higashino. For this one, I went with a full spread review in my journal. I'm decorating the pages with some coffee and cafe themed washi tapes and stickers. I chose this theme because coffee is actually an important detail into the story itself, so it felt like a nice way to connect the decor and the story. That said, the stickers I used here are really cute and have more of an anime aesthetic, which definitely doesn't match the tone of this book. This book is pretty intense, it's a murder mystery, but this was the only coffee themed stationery I had on hand and I just went with it. Now, about the book. As I said, this is a murder mystery. A man is found dead in his home, and all sign points to his wife as the prime suspect, but she has a perfect alibi, and the detectives are left trying to figure out not just who committed the crime, but how it was even possible. So, this is the second book in the Detective Galileo series. I read the first one last year and I really enjoyed it. But you don't need to read the first book before this one though. The case is completely new and can be read as a standalone, only the detectives return as a continuing characters. And I really like this one. In fact, I think I like this one better than the first. The final reveal was really fascinating. It does stretch realism a little bit, but not in a way that feels too far fetched. It's still within the realm of possibility, and more importantly, it was really unique. I don't think I have ever read a mystery with a solution quite like that, and that made it really memorable, I guess. Another thing I appreciated was the tone. It's not overly graphic or disturbing. In that way, it has a feel of a cozy mystery. I could fully enjoy the story without having to read through the unsettling descriptions. And something I have come to notice about Higashino's writing is the sense of moral closure. Like, even if someone manages to escape the law, there is still a sense of consequence. Justice may not always be legal, but it is there, and it makes the story feel complete and satisfying in a different way. So, overall, this was a great read, and I gave it a 4 stars. My next read was The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. I'm back to my one-page review format for this one. I tried to go for a slightly dark gothic vibe with the stickers, but honestly, I don't think it really came out that. But it's okay, I'm happy with the end results. Now, about the book. This story follows an unnamed narrator who visits the decaying mansion of his childhood friend, Roderick Usher. As he spends time in this eerie house, he becomes wrapped up in the strange and unsettling fate of the Usher family. So, this was a very interesting read. There isn't much to say about the story itself since it's quite short and not very plot heavy. Instead, it focuses more on creating an eerie atmospheric experience. I haven't read a lot of gothic or horror books since they are not my usual comfort reads, but I really enjoyed this one. While it does not explore gothic horror themes, I found the unsettling atmosphere more fascinating than terrifying. Overall, it was a good read and I really enjoyed it, and I gave it a 3.5 star. Next up is Gemina by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This is the second book in the Illumine File series, and it continues the high-stakes sci-fi fantasy thriller in the same unique mixed media format. This time we follow two new characters, Hannah Donnelly, the station commander's daughter, and Nick Malikov, a member of a notorious criminal family. So when they are home, the Heimdall station is attacked. They are thrown into a brutal fight for survival, and along the way they uncover some shocking secrets as well. So this was a really good read, and I actually think I like this more than the Illumine. This time the characters were more fun, and I personally preferred the dynamic between Hannah and Nick over the couple in the first book. The pacing was good, mostly fast and intense with plenty of twists to keep me interested. That said, I did have one gripe, the way the characters talked. I get that it's YA, but I don't think real teenagers actually talk like that. And also, since I listened to audiobook, it really stood out and a few lines felt a bit cringy to me. That was probably the only part I didn't enjoy. Other than that, I had a great time with it and I gave this one a 3.5 stars. My next read was The Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. For this one, I went with a full spread review. I used some scrapbook paper and PET tape to decorate the page. I tried to use shades of blue and yellow as I thought that matches the cover. And I also tried to give a magical vibe to the spread with my PET stickers. So the story follows Selena Sardothine, a notorious assassin imprisoned in the salt mines of Enderweir. Now, I'm pretty sure I didn't pronounce any of that correctly, so apologies in advance if I mess up again. So, when Selena is offered a chance at freedom by competing to become the king's champion, she reluctantly agrees. And then the book follows her journey as she trains alongside some warriors and uncovers dark secrets that could affect her future, but also the fate of the entire kingdom. So this is my second Sarah J. Maas series after A Court of Thorns and Roses. I know both of these series are extremely popular, especially on social media, but I didn't actually love A Court of Thorns and Roses. I didn't hate it either, it was just an okay read for me. So I had my doubts going into this one, but surprisingly, I ended up liking it more, at least so far. I hope that continues as I read further into the series. One thing I did not enjoy is the trope of a 17-year-old being the most feared assassin. I know it's something we see a lot in fantasy books, but I do wish she had been written as slightly older, at least in her 20s. That said, I really like the competition aspect of the story, and honestly, I wouldn't have minded seeing more of it. I also enjoyed the mystery tied to the kingdom's ancient lore, magic, and history. It was really an intriguing part of the plot, even though the resolution felt a bit rushed. But since this is just the first book, I'm assuming there is more to come, and I'm okay with that. I'm generally not a fan of love triangles, so I didn't love that dynamic here. But to be fair, Selena didn't seem to be torn between the two, so it didn't interfere much with the main story, so I guess it's okay. Personally, I preferred Kaol over Dorian. I'm not sure how big of a role Kaol will play later on, but I would like to see more of him. Dorian didn't stand out too much to me, but I'll wait and see how his character develops. I also did not enjoy Selena's rivalry with Kaltain. Again, I'm not sure if that's how her name is pronounced. I'm sorry about that. Anyway, I dislike when women are pitted against each other just because they want different things. So, in Kaltain's case, she sees Selena as a rival, which makes sense, but Selena seems to despise her simply for embracing more traditionally feminine roles. That didn't sit well with me. Since this is a long series, I'm curious to see which characters will grow more important as the story progresses. Selena is obviously the central focus. I'm still figuring out who else will have a lasting impact. Overall, this was an enjoyable read and I gave it a 3.5 star. The last book I read in February was Red Rising by Pierce Brown. I'm doing a full spread review for this one as well. I printed out some of the fan arts and images that match the aesthetic of the book I found from Pinterest, and I'll be using those along with a few scrapbook papers to decor the pages. The book is a dystopian sci-fi novel set in a brutal class-based society on Mars. It follows Darrow, a low-class red who works underground, believing he is helping make the planet habitable for future generations. But he soon discovers that Mars has been livable for centuries, and the ruling gold elites have kept his people enslaved all along. So the rest of the story follows Darrow's dangerous transformation as he infiltrates the Gauls in order to bring down their oppressive system from inside. I really enjoyed this book. Parts of it reminded me of Hunger Games, but unlike many books with a similar premise that fall short, this one truly lived up to the hype, I guess. Even though this is categorized as YA, it didn't feel overly young or immature to me. YA characters can sometimes come across as frustratingly reckless or inconsistent, but that wasn't the case here. The characters did make impulsive decisions, especially given the intense situations they were in, but they felt believable and well written, and I found them easy to connect and root for. The pacing was excellent, fast, action-packed, and full of tension. The beginning was a bit slower since it focused on setting up the world and the stakes, but it never dragged. Once Darrow entered the institute, the story moved quickly and didn't have a single dull moment. I really enjoyed the competition, the fights, and all the strategic mind games going on. There is obviously a strong political message about class, oppression, and power, which I appreciated. But even aside from those things, the story itself was really interesting. I'm really curious to see where the story goes from here, especially now Darrow's relationship with his new friends will evolve as he faces increasingly difficult choices. I can imagine Severo sticking by him, but Mustang might struggle more given the family she comes from. That dynamic will be interesting to watch, I guess. So overall, this was a fantastic read, and I gave this one a 4 stars. That was the last book I finished in February. It's already been a long video, so now let's do a quick flip through of the spreads. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you would like to support my channel, please like, comment and subscribe. I'll be posting more journaling content very soon. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.